Okay, so this was supposed to be a scripted video. I wrote like 2 pages, and then I realized that like every time I try to think about this topic, I end up getting angry. You've read the title, you looked at the thumbnail, which I probably didn't spend a lot of time on, and you know what we're here to talk about. When did Assassin's Creed go bad? Um, and I find that to be a very interesting question, because I feel like a lot of people have different answers depending on what type of game you enjoy. Like the RPG era that we entered with Origins has its fans, right? Odyssey, Origins, Valhalla have all sold quite a lot. Mirage has been decently successful, and Shadows is sure to sell quite a few millions of copies as well. The thing is, though, a lot of the people that are playing those games might not be the same ones that played 1 through, say, Syndicate, or maybe 1 through 3, and then Unity and Syndicate have different fans, or maybe it's 1 through Revelations, and then 3, 4, and Rogue have different fans in general. Like, the franchise has shifted and changed and adjusted in different ways so many times that it's kind of hard to say that there was an old school era and then a new school era, because 1, 2, and Brotherhood played differently than Revelations, and Revelations is the only one that really plays like that, and then 3, 4, and Rogue are on a completely different engine, and then Unity and Syndicate are on a different engine entirely, and they play differently but similarly to each other, but nothing really else in the franchise. All that is to say, the franchise has changed a lot. Assassin's Creed has been reinvented many, many, many times, and so to say that it went bad at one particular point or another is kind of foolish, right? It's hard to say that, because I won't sit here and tell you that Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla are bad. I only played Origins and Valhalla for a combined maybe hour or two. I wasn't having fun with them, but I can't say that they're bad games. All I can really speak to is the games that I played and where things kind of went wrong in my opinion. The simplest thing to say is that it's corporate greed, right? Because there were only supposed to be 3 games, one about Altair, one about Ezio, and one about Connor. And then all of that would kind of resolve what's going on in the present day, and then it would be over. But the original, creator of Assassin's Creed was gone by the time they got to Assassin's Creed 3. And so things were looking very different, because this franchise, as Ubisoft noticed pretty early on, has the tendency to print money. You don't have to do too much. You can just take the bones of what was in the previous game, build a couple things on top of it, boom, you've got a brand new game that you could sell for $60 and watch the cash flow in. That is why there's a trilogy about Ezio. Not because they loved the character so much, but because they saw that we did, and they decided they could milk a little bit more out of him while spending a little bit more time on Assassin's Creed 3, building a new engine for that game, and maybe even developing something that comes after. Revelations was meant to be a 3DS game called Lost Legacy. I'm sure you guys know that. But they outsourced the shit out of that game and had like 8 or 9 different studios working on it, and within a year it was out. I can't say it was ready, because, yeah, that game has a lot of issues. But, and for as much as people say that there are, like, we should get more than 1 game per character nowadays, I feel like most people don't love the whole Ezio trilogy. 2 is a great game, and Brotherhood is my favorite, but Revelations is kind of the one that we accept, is the one that people don't talk too much about. It's like, if you like Altair and Ezio, then you'll probably like this game. It's not terrible, but it's also not great, But then 3 came out, and 3 was such a huge departure. You had health that would regenerate. There were hunting mechanics. You could sail a ship. There were several different areas with fast travel, and there was, guns that didn't suck. You could use human shields. You could climb trees. The parkour had been completely reworked. The notoriety system had been completely reworked. Combat flowed so much more smoothly now. The chain kill was kind of OP. But people didn't really like Connor too much. He was kind of a boring character. And I came away feeling that too. When I finished playing Assassin's Creed 3 back in 2012, It was my favorite game, and Connor was my favorite assassin. But then I played the remaster in 2019, and by the time I was finished with that, I realized Connor kind of fucking sucks, huh? He delivers every line the exact same way. My name is Connor Kenway. Charles Lee killed my mother and destroyed my village. I will have my revenge. Hello, are you Achilles Davenport? I was told you could train me. You're my father? I can't believe that you're a Templar. How could you do this? How could you betray your own people? It's like, no matter what he says it the same way. And you could say, well, English isn't his first language. I don't care. It's the voice actor's first language, I'm pretty sure. I don't think the same voice actor does both of his languages. I'm pretty sure it's two different people, so that doesn't mean anything to me. He's also always making the same face. There's never any emotion in his eyes, which is crazy considering the new engine. There's emotion in Desmond's eyes when the game sucks you out of the past and puts you into the present over and over again, which is understandable because Assassin's Creed 3 is the most important game in the franchise. This game was initially supposed to be the finale, you know? It ties up Alex Cross, is that his name? It ties up Warren Vidic. It ties up Desmond by killing him off. Oh, there's so much to say about that, but I'll try to save that for... Maybe I'll do a whole video about why Assassin's Creed 3 is such a letdown. But, you know, you're running around Brazil. Like, you're in the present day a lot in Assassin's Creed 3. But fun fact, the last time that Desmond was in the real world before Assassin's Creed 3, he had just murdered Lucy. He stabbed her with his hidden blade and killed her. Nothing is really said about it in Revelations, and nothing is said about it at all in Assassin's Creed 3. There's a little first-person DLC where you get to learn a little bit about Subject 16 for Revelations, and in that you learn that Lucy was a double agent. Isn't that nice? Even though she literally risked everything breaking Desmond free at the end of the first game. But whatever. Whatever. What it really comes down to is Kristen Bell became expensive, and they didn't want to pay her. You know, that's really it. That's really it. And I mean, now she's even more expensive than she would have ever been, so whatever. But that's kind of the attitude that the present day story was treated with when it comes to Assassin's Creed 3 and anything that came after. Because as boring as you may find it, as lame as you may find it, the modern day plot is the plot of Assassin's Creed. That's what it's about. You go to these historical settings and you play as Desmond's ancestors to contextualize what you're doing now. It's to find things and find people that you can locate the remains of, or locate these objects in the present and use against Abstergo. You're racing this huge corporation to these locations and to these artifacts to try to win an unwinnable war, right? And in a way, before it starts, because Abstergo is the Templars. They want to enslave and control humanity. The whole point of what you're doing in the past is to figure out how to stop that from happening. That's why Abstergo built the Animus, because they wanted to go back and find these things so that they could find them in the present. So, say what you want, what you're doing in the past has no meaning, it has no impact, because it's history. Everything that's been done back then has already happened. We're witnessing it for the sake of winning the battle in the present. That battle just doesn't seem to ever get won, because even when you look at Assassin's Creed 3, nothing that you do in that game is about Abstergo. You're not doing anything to stop them. You're trying to stop the sun from blowing up the earth, or whatever. I can't remember exactly how all that went down. But then, you know, you're being tricked by Juno. And it's like, oh, you know, if Desmond dies, then she'll be free, and she can, you know, wreak havoc on the world. But then, nothing really comes of that. Like, she pops up in Assassin's Creed 4, and they introduce you to the concept of the Sage, which is like her lover from way back in the day who keeps being reincarnated. The Sage is in precisely 2 games, as far as I know. I don't think that there was one in Syndicate. I haven't heard about there being one in Origins Odyssey or Valhalla. or Mirage, so I'm pretty sure that the Sage subplot is done, just like the Juno subplot is done, because she got killed off in a comic. You wonder what she's gonna do now that she's free? Don't worry, she's gone. And we're just gonna move on and pretend that we didn't spend an entire game dealing with that. But after Desmond dies, the modern day plot is completely swept under the rug. Which is a shame because, like I said before, and like I will continue to reiterate for the rest of my life as a gamer, that's what it's about. That's what we're here for. And there's a really big development made after Desmond's death where Abstergo can like harvest someone's DNA and allow anyone to access a person's memories. You play as fucking first-person John in Black Flag. You're walking around Abstergo with a tablet that tells you where to go, and you can just look at Edward Kenway's memories through what they harvested from Desmond Miles. That's a really big deal, right? That's a huge deal. That changes everything, because now it doesn't matter what William, Sean, and Rebecca do. Desmond died, it's game over. But not really. Not really. As far as I know, William hasn't done anything since Desmond's death. At least not in the 3 games that I played that come after that. Sean and Rebecca became field agents, which is crazy to see. Like, they pop up in Syndicate via drone footage trying to take down these Abstergo guys because you locate the shroud of whatever the fuck that Steric uses in Syndicate. I have not played that game since 2018, so this is all memory of a playthrough from 7 years ago. But that doesn't move me at all, right? What would move me is William taking down Abstergo to avenge his son. But even on the topic of avenging his son, I found out that Desmond's alive. I always thought he would be, but I thought that, like, it would be in a less stupid way than he became Emir Fritz and lives in the Coordinate now. That's an Attack on Titan reference. I don't know what the thing is actually called, or like what the subtitles call him, but he's voiced by Nolan North. He's very clearly still Desmond Miles. So, I guess he's fighting Abstergo from the Aurora Borealis? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand what this is about now. Like, at least in Black Flag and Rogue, you're still able to, like, walk around. You have legs. And, I assume you have a name. I don't know. I don't know, but you like directly work for Abstergo in those games, and you kind of know a little bit about what Abstergo is trying to do with the information that they're collecting off of you. But when you get to Unity, which I've played more than any other game, I think maybe Brotherhood I have a little bit more time in, but I've played Unity on 4 different platforms. You know, like that's not true. 3 different platforms. It's not on 4 platforms, but I've played it on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I love that game, despite all of its problems. But by the time you get to that one, there's this really weird thing at the very beginning where it's like, oh, look at all these different historical periods, and it's like references to the previous games, but you obviously can't play those. They didn't put every damn Assassin's Creed game into Unity. But it seems like the Animus still allows you to watch whatever you want to watch. But then you meet Bishop through a cutscene that's still in first person, but I don't even think you have the ability to move your neck anymore. Like, I think you're just, like, catatonic in this Animus. You don't have a name, they call you Initiate. And they're basically just barking orders at you. It's like, oh, see what you can learn about this, and do that, or do whatever. And it's like, I don't know. I guess we don't have to worry about bleeding effects anymore, because we're not actually watching our own ancestors, but it's also, whose ancestor is Arno? Like, we're dealing with characters that we assume had kids, but what does that mean? How does it matter, you know? Because in the lore, or in, like, the direct lore of what's canon in Unity, Arno only interacts with one piece of Eden, and I think he keeps it for the rest of his life. But it's like, does Abstergo want the sword? Do we want the sword? What are we going to do with it? We know that the Sage's body is down in the catacombs somewhere, but what does that mean? Like, what changes in the war against Abstergo for what we learn from Unity? Nothing, as far as I can tell. We don't do anything with any of the information that we learned from that game. Yes, there is an Apple of Eden in the Dead Kings DLC, but I don't think that that's canon, because Napoleon Bonaparte goes to prison, I believe, at the end of that game, or at the end of that DLC, or maybe he's executed. I don't know what the implications of that are, but he's arrested for sure. So it's like, I don't remember that happening. But yeah, I don't really know like where the franchise is trying to go as far as that's concerned now, because like I mentioned the bleeding effect a little bit. Let's go back to that. Let's go backwards in the timeline a little bit. This is why I couldn't script this video. I can't get my thoughts together. The bleeding effect is a principle in which Desmond kind of assimilates the personalities of his ancestors. He learns how to fight, how to move, and how to think like his ancestors, because the more of their memories he watches, the more of them starts to trickle into his own mind. But that's dangerous, because if it goes on for too long, he'll go crazy because he won't be able to separate his memories from his ancestors' memories, and it'll completely scramble his mind. That's something that we saw with Subject 16. We don't actually meet Subject 16 in the flesh. Well, you never meet him in the flesh, he's fucking dead. But we don't like see him face to face until Revelations, when you're in this like this Animus purgatory. I assume that they put you back in the Animus after you went catatonic after killing Lucy at the end of Brotherhood. And that's cool. But like, why is Clay here? Did that same thing happen to him? Is this what happens when the bleeding effect takes too strong of a hold on you? But like, the way for Desmond to get out of this Animus purgatory is to achieve what is called a sync nexus. You want to know what a sync nexus is? It's when the bleeding effect becomes so thorough that your mind perfectly blends in with your ancestor's mind, and that's how you break free. Nope, I'm sorry, I thought that meant death. I thought that was what we were trying to, you know, avoid happening to Desmond. That's why they had to be careful about how much time he spent in the Animus. That's why he got frustrated in Assassin's Creed 3, because he spent all his time watching the damn wrong ancestor, and he's like, hey dad, he's your ancestor too, why don't you hop in the Animus? And it makes it seem like William can't take it anymore, like he can't be in the Animus. But Desmond, let's just put his brain in the blender and he'll be fine, you know? I don't know what the point is anymore. And with Subject 16, what's his name? Clay Aiken? It's not Aiken, but it's Clay something. He's like leaving you these like cryptic warnings by like writing in the air in like 2 and Brotherhood, and it's a really big deal because the whole thing is you're trying to prevent Subject 17 from ending up like Subject 16. But how do you do that? By having the exact same thing that happened to 16 happen to 17. But it just doesn't have any consequences this time. And it's like, who the hell is Shay Cormac? I know, he's the guy that killed Arno's dad, but why? Why is that relevant? What do we learn from... I didn't finish Rogue, I got really bored. But what do we learn from Shay Cormac's story that helps or hurts Abstergo? And then we're going further back in time with Origins, and even further back with Odyssey, and then forward a little bit with Valhalla, and then forward again with Mirage. Or no, we went further back with Mirage, and now we're coming further forward again, I believe, with Shadows. I'm actually not entirely sure what year Valhalla and Mirage take place. I think they're triple digit AD, whereas I'm relatively confident that Shadows takes place in the 12th century. I could be completely wrong on all of those, but it's clear that like the old games were moving forward in time because it's a race against time. You know, we need more and more recent information to use against Abstergo because the issue is pertinent. But now that we've protected the Earth from getting blown up by the sun, it doesn't seem like any of that matters anymore. I don't even know if Abstergo is mentioned in the recent games. I don't even know if the Animus is still a plot device, you know? And I can already smell comments being like, well, this is because you aren't playing them. You don't know. You can't criticize what you don't know. It's like, but I don't have any interest because I actually really care about the modern day plot. But it's clear from playing Black Flag, Rogue, Unity, and Syndicate 4 in a row that Ubisoft doesn't care about the modern day plot anymore. It's like they were putting it in due to obligation, but once they realized they didn't have to, they just stopped focusing on it. And that's their right. They can make the games however they want to, but that doesn't mean that I then have to go and play that game, because I'm not interested in that. But I had a point lined up that I was going to circle back around to, and I completely lost what it was. Right. The way that we're hopping around the timeline with like the RPG era that we're in, I don't see how any of it could possibly be impacting the modern day. And if it's not doing that, then to me, it's filler. It doesn't mean anything. I know that, like, Cassandra survived for however fucking long. I know there is modern day stuff in Odyssey. She had, like, Pythagoras' staff or whatever, and she lived for like 2,000 years or some shit like that. And that Desmond is still alive, and that, like, this whole thing is the Isu, and that, like, they were the gods and whatever. I don't care. None of that is what I want out of the modern day plot. I want ragtag group of freedom fighters versus the Empire, you know? That's what it was built on. And we're getting further and further away from that. It was always sci-fi, somewhat sci-fantasy, but it's like, it's historical fiction that's also sci-fi and sci-fantasy, and now it's just like, I don't know, like the more fantastical stories that were once reserved for DLC, like the Tyranny of King George, stuff like that is just becoming the main plot. And you could refer to it as jumping the shark. I wouldn't have a problem with that. It just, the simplest way to say it is the way that I've been saying it. Assassin's Creed has lost focus. It's completely lost focus on what they were trying to do and what the games were about. And as such, I've lost interest. So that was just, I kind of wanted to just ramble about Assassin's Creed. Like, the gameplay changes aren't the end of the world for me, right? Like, I still played Unity a lot, and in a lot of ways, the Unity gameplay is inferior to the Black Flag and Assassin's Creed 3 gameplay. Mostly due to the combat. I miss being able to use a human shield. I would also like the ability to roll out of the way of a bullet when outside of open combat, because if there's a sniper that's aiming at you, you're going to get shot. There's a lot about Unity that frustrates the hell out of me, parkour-wise, combat-wise, open world-wise. I don't care. And all of that does get worse in Syndicate, but again, I don't care. I played those games because I was interested to see what was happening now, what's happening with the Sage, what's happening with Juno. Where are Sean and Rebecca, because they do pop up in Assassin's Creed 4 working at Abstergo. So it seemed like they were trying to take them down from the inside. And you wonder where all that goes, and it's just like, it doesn't really go anywhere. We're still doing this. There's no end in sight. Desmond Miles died in vain, you know? It's just, I don't know, it's upsetting. And then, yeah, they try to connect it with, like, Watch Dogs or whatever. That doesn't matter to me. It's just, what I'm really here to iterate is that it's a damn shame to watch a franchise that you used to care so much about turn to dust. That's really all it is. Now I gotta go back in here and record some B-roll to put over the top of this video. I can't wait. But, let me know in the comments what you think. Am I yapping about nothing? Am I yammering about a problem that doesn't exist? Or do you agree that Assassin's Creed has lost the plot? And if so, when do you think it happened? Go ahead and let me know in the comments. Leave a like or a dislike, I don't care. Engage with the video in whichever way you see appropriate. And subscribe while you're down there if you're new to the channel. I am just recently coming back from a very long hiatus, but I do plan to get back to making content just like I used to. And we're going to take this one day at a time. I want to rebuild what I used to have here. I don't know why I get preachy at the end of these videos, but like, building the community that I had here was so difficult and took so long and I had to be so careful, but it was so rewarding at the same time, having people tune into everything that I had to say or everything that I was doing, and being able to do that for a living was so satisfying and so rewarding. It had its ups and downs. It's a roller coaster like anything is. Living your dream is never easy, and having that dream taken away from me and having to fight to get it back, it's taught me a lot. I can't take you guys for granted, you know? I have to treat you all with respect, and that's what I intend to do. So we're going to embark on this journey once more. We're going to do it together, and gonna have some fun. Anyway, I'll see you guys later.